Pantami's citation is not the type you can put in a page. Even with the editorial capacity of our technical committee, they couldn't do much but to give us a 3-page. And gentlemen, the citation of Professor Isa Ali Pantami. Professor Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami was born in Pantami district, Gombe State, Nigeria. He is a policymaker, a regulatory expert, a farmer, a scholar, a consultant, and an academic who served as the Minister of Communication and the first ever Minister of Digital Economy of this great nation. He is currently, as somebody rightly mentioned, a gubernatorial candidate of a state that is known as the jewel in the savannah. It is no any other but the state of my PG coordinator, Gombe State. He also has a distinction of being the first ever African to be satisfied as a fellow of the Chartered Institute of the Information Security. He is the only professional cybersecurity organization granted the Royal Charter of Incorporation in the United Kingdom. He also holds a prestigious title of Majid-Dandin Dawla Usmaniya, the glorious one of the Ottoman Ibn Fodio Empire, conferred on him by His Eminence, the Sultan. BUK Tafawa Balewa University, ATBU, Bauchi, and obtained the regular 5-year Bachelor's of Technology degree in Computer Science. He also proceeded to acquire 2 master's degrees in a quick succession in the same university, one in the Computer Science and the other in management. He also worked with the university as a programmer, then graduate assistant, assistant lecturer, lecturer 2, and lecturer 1, where he spent at least 11 years as an academic. Currently, as you have heard me clearly, he is a professor in these areas. His corollary pursuits led him to the Robert Gordon University in the United Kingdom for a PhD. Thereafter, he obtained a doctoral degree in computer information systems in early 2014. He also obtained a 1-year postgraduate certificate in research method from the same university. Professor Pantami is the Chancellor of the University of Quranic and Islamic Science, Quranic and Islamic Sciences in Jazeera Republic of Sudan. He is on the board of trustee of Phonic University and the governing council of Rehan University. Professor Ibrahim published over 10 books, several referred journal articles, and attended over 170 conferences and workshops, among others. He also served as a consultant to many national and international institutions and companies. Furthermore, he also a recipient of 2 honorary doctoral degrees from the Sudan Public University in 2021 and Achievers University, Ondo, in 2022. He was also conferred with the highest Distinguished Fellowship Award by the Federal College of Education Technical Gombe in 2021, and another highest Distinguished Fellowship Award by the Federal Polytechnic Kazaure in 2024. He was also elected into the Governing Council of ITU of the United Nations in 2022. Further, in July 2022, while in Amsterdam during the meeting in Algeria, he was also unanimously nominated and appointed as the vice chairman to the statutory chairman of African ministers. In September 2022, he was appointed to chair the Forum of African Ministers in Bucharest and led the African candidates to win the position of the director of the ITU. In 2024, Professor Issa was appointed as the co-chairman by the African Union through the African Scientific Research and Innovation Council to develop the fourth industrial revolutionary policy and strategy for the continent. He is the sole representative of West African in the council. Professor Issa Ali Pantami is a global IT expert, a chartered computer scientist, a chartered cybersecurity expert. He is also a revered and highly respected scholar. He is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Information Security, fellow of the Nigerian Computer Society, and fellow of the British Computer Society, as well as fellow of Cybersecurity, Cybercrime Forensics, a specialist group. He also a registered computer scientist with the Computer Professionals Registration Councils of Nigeria. Professor Pantami is also registered with Institutes of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, among others. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Issa Ibrahim Ali Pantami. Thank you, sir.
The occasion, Professor O.A.U. Uche, the Vice Chancellor of Bayero University, Kano, being represented by the DVC academic, Professor Ahmad Muhammad Saunu, my co-keynote speaker and also a respected elder brother, Professor Idris Muhammad Bugaji, the Executive Secretary and CEO of the National Board for Technical Education, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Bayero University, Kano, Professor Abdul Samad Umar Jibia, Chairman of the Local Organizing Committee, academics, non-academic staff here present. Permit me also to recognize my teacher, Professor Awal Mansur Bindawa, and also another friend and a teacher, Engineer Habib Ahmad Imam. All other protocols respectfully observe. Good afternoon to all of you. May peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you all. I begin by commending the effort of the Faculty of Engineering, Bayero University, Kano, for organizing the 5th conference with the title I'm glad to be part and parcel of the conference, and I'm also excited that I listened to the presentation of my co-keynote speaker, Professor Idris Muhammad Bugaji from A to Z. And I believe that he simplified my presentation. I will make an attempt to avoid any repetition of what he said, except when it becomes necessary to emphasize. The topic of my keynote speech is engineering startups, digital economy, and the future of this topic is very apt and also very relevant, particularly if we look into the possibility of implementing the topic in our universities, where we need to interrogate our curriculum, we need to interrogate our system of education. Whenever we speak about our system of education in Nigeria, we are not challenging it for the sake of just challenging, but rather we are also the product of the same system. We are proud of the same system. The same system of education produced all of us. However, we must agree that there is room for improvement. This is indeed very important. When we challenge ourselves to improve, we are not in, but rather that what we have at hand is commendable. However, we need to make it to be better than what it is today. Our education is supposed to solve our. Today, we are being confronted with so many challenges in Nigeria, in economy, in health, wherever you look at, there are challenges. Then we need to interrogate ourselves. What is the role of our system of education? What do we need to do in order to ensure that our system of education can address the challenges we are being confronted with? Unfortunately, today in so many institutions, you will discover that students go to university not for the sake of learning, but actually to get a degree certificate and graduate. Academics partake in many situations. This research is being conducted just to fulfill the requirement for promotion. No more, no less. In some cases, it's only because of the financial aspect of it where there is a grant to that research. So you will discover that even the research itself becomes a secondary instead of being the primary, but today we make it to be the secondary. So these are some of the challenges we are being confronted with. And if you look at our curriculum, you'll discover that it is too theoretical. And sometimes it is too static. Some lecturers today can spend 5 to 10 years with the same lecture note in engineering or technology. Only what we do is to give it to students, garbage in, garbage out, and that is the end of it. Whether they understand, we don't care. What is important, we need them to answer the questions directly the way it is in that lecture note. We don't even allow them to partake in critical thinking. Any answer that is outside the lecture note is being considered as wrong. So, when we challenge our system of education, we are not in any way ridiculing the system. I attended my primary school in Nigeria, a public school. My second junior secondary school in Nigeria, another public school. Senior secondary school in Nigeria, a public school. My BTech in public university. MSc in public university. For education was during my PhD. So by implication, 80% of what we did is in Nigeria, and we are proud of the system. However, being proud of the system is not a justification that we must continue to admire where there is room for improvement. We must interrogate and challenge ourselves so that it are better. system. In an attempt to discuss the topic, I intend to follow a 5-step algorithm. Number 1, the X-ray of the topic. Number 2, engineering startups and unicorns. Number 3, IIT style model as a case study. Number 4, Nigeria Startup Act 2022. Number 5, recommendations and conclusions. Number 1, of the topic. If we look at the topic here, number 3, top. In order to produce. So, innovative products in the early part of the 21st century, without from that time, the prominent smaller companies that intend to come up with innovative ideas and solutions to today's challenges and problems. While digital economy is all about the application of digital technologies on one hand and data on the other in order to improve and transform our economies and other activities. So digital technologies are deployed on one hand and data is on the other. A digital economy. The global of industrial growth is 5G, this technology, the global industry today, and there is no doubt about this. Today, this to the second step of our discussion superficially, that is engineering startups and unicorns. As early startups are smaller companies that intend to come up with innovative solutions, products and services, either in security, education, health, commerce, defense, agriculture. So any small company that intends to come up with an innovative solution to these sectors and all other sectors, by implication, is part and parcel of what we call startup. If startup grows up, it becomes unicorn, actually, that has a market value of a minimum of 1 billion USD. So the process of growing of a startup produces what is called unicorn. That is to have a market value of a billion USD. If you look at it globally today, according to the World Economic Forum and other institutions, we have a minimum of one. That is globally, a minimum of 150 million startups. And interestingly, the number is increasing exponentially to the extent that in just last year, 2025, around 50 million startups came up within the same year. And by implication, that number is expected to be repeated in 2026. So we have a minimum of 150 million startups globally, and each and every one of them is making an attempt to provide an innovative solution, product or service to one of our challenges in human endeavor, either in education or in health or in agriculture or in any other sector. Usually, when a startup is successful, it becomes a unicorn. You will discover that unicorns today are the United States of America, number 2, China, number 3, India, number 4, United Kingdom. In the US, as of December 2025, there were 600 and by implication, it had a market value of a minimum of 1 billion, followed by China with 12 units, then followed by the United Kingdom with, then followed by Germany with 50, or with 30, sorry, followed by Germany with 30. However, as we all agree that we have our challenges in Africa, but sometimes the story is encouraging when it comes to the unicorns. In 2030, in 2023, by May, when we left office, there were 7 unicorns in Africa, but 5 of them originated from Nigeria. And with all sense of humility and responsibility, all the 5 attained the position of unicorn while I was the DG NIDA and the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. In the enabling environment. Because what you need is, number 1, policy. As earlier mentioned by Professor Idris Muhammad Bugaje, is not enough without implementation. That is why I always say that we are defined by our implementation, not by our policy. We are also defined by our actions, not by our words. Are you following? And we are also defined by our execution, not just by the formulation of our strategy. So actually, policy means nothing as long as it is not implemented. And the most difficult aspect is implementation. And this is where many public officials fail when it comes to policy implementation, many usually fail. Because it is easy to come up with the policy. It is an academic work. However, the implementation is where the challenge arises. You are from academia. You always try to follow due process. You respect, you are highly professional. When you are appointed in government, you will be taken to another entirely different environment. You will go and meet another set of people that your success is not in their dictionary. Due process is an anathema there. You rely on your salary and allowances. You depend on your salary and allowances. You try to live within your legal earnings. You will go and meet some people that are experts. In fact, they are the engine of corruption. Even the corruption itself cannot survive without them. And when you are appointed, they will consider you as an outsider. They are highly suspicious. And they know the system better than you. Firstly, they will try to compromise you. When you resist, then they will try to make you irrelevant, to isolate you completely. And you must operate within the same system. And unfortunately, if you happen to be a minister, you are even more powerful as CEO sometimes, rather than being a minister. As CEO, sometimes you have the privilege of employing other people to work under you. But as a minister, the entire staff are under the permanent secretary. The minister is only dealing with the policy. The permanent secretary will chair the tenders board. He will chair the evaluation committee, the financial committee, technical committee. You are only sitting there, and you even have no power to employ even your personal driver. So it is because of this policy implementation. It's not just a tea break. It is extremely difficult in Nigeria. You have to know your game very well before you implement it. But if you allow them to put you in an acute angle, that is the end of it. You will exhaust your time and leave and clear the screen without achieving anything. And not because you are not willing to, but the system doesn't allow you to do it. So that is why policy implementation is difficult. And even in academia, as a vice chancellor or dean or head of department, it is not that easy to come up with an idea and that idea to be accepted by your colleagues and to implement it. Sometimes we even argue for the sake of argument. There is no justification, but we want to argue. If you want to understand our character as Nigerians, just make a simple post. Allow people to comment, go through their comment and see what they are writing. You will clearly see lack of discipline, moral decadence among many others in our societies. So far, for example, as I mentioned, in Nigeria, among the unicorns that attain the position while in office, for example, we have Floater Wave, which attained the position around 2021. The market value of a Floater Wave is around 3.2 billion USD. You have OPay with 2 billion USD. You have InterSwitch with 1 billion USD, among others. Unicorns or startups are very important. Number one, in addressing the challenge of employment and unemployability, and also in improving our economy. Today, if you look at our system of education that we are all product of, we are more inclined to producing potential employees. While the global trend today our system of education is supposed to produce potential employers. Our system of education is supposed to be producing job providers, but we are more inclined to producing job seekers. And it is no more the same globally. We have to accept the reality that yes, our system of education has its own strength, but there are other challenges. Some of the challenges are to be addressed by us, the academics, some by government, some by other institutions. And that is why you cannot address the challenges in isolation, no matter how effective you are. Institutions must work together. That is why I'm glad to see that part of the lit paper presentation to be made here, there is even a triple helix model, where academia, government, and industry must work together. This is very critical and crucial, where government, academia, and industry are having constant interaction. Constant interaction. This is indeed very important. This takes me to the next stage of our discussion, that is IIT style model as our case study. When I say IIT, I make a reference to the Indian Institute of Technology. Indian Institute of Technology was established in 1951. The first campus was established in 1951. But today, there are a minimum of 23 campuses in India. This is one of the best models that will help Nigeria to address the challenges we are discussing, and the best model to support our engineers to bridge the gap, as earlier mentioned, of producing potential employers rather than potential employees, producing potential job providers rather than producing potential job seekers, and also producing potential problem solvers rather than producing potential problem consumers, or at the best, solution consumers being imported into our country. Indian Institute of Technology, when some of our University of Technologies were established, the plan was to emulate and copy that model. BUK University Bauchi, that is Federal University of Technology Bauchi, Federal University of Technology Adamawa, that is Modibo Adama University today, Federal University of Technology Mina, Federal University of Technology Owerri, Federal University of Technology Akure. These 5 universities of technology were established in early 80s with the intention of copying the IIT style model. But unfortunately, there was a miscarriage. As a result of being overcome by our system, that however, there are success stories, which I strongly agree, but still there is a room for improvement, and that improvement is a significant one. Indian Institute of Technology, the model they come up with, in summary, firstly, is how to produce potential employers rather than potential employees. Number 2, producing job providers rather than job seekers. Number 3, problem solvers. As a result of that, you will discover that each graduate of Indian Institute of Technology today, averagely, is an employer of 100 people globally. Averagely. In 2021, I conducted a research of the 27 global tech companies in the world. 25 out of 27 all their CEOs are either graduates of IIT in India or an institution that was trained by IIT. Because of that concept, starting from Microsoft, going to Google, among many others, you will discover that they are from Indian Institute of Technology. Their model, firstly, they have what they call National Incubation and Startup Policy. They implement that policy religiously. Some of the most important points in that policy: number one, each university in its budget must ensure that a minimum of 1 to 5% of their total budget is dedicated to the establishment and maintenance of technology incubation centers. For example, IIT Madras, they have what they call IIT-IM incubation cell. It is even the best institution in India, followed by IIT Mumbai, followed by IIT Delhi. IIT Delhi, most arguably, they produce the highest number of unicorns globally. Number 4, IIT Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, for a student to graduate, must have his own startup as a company that is registered officially. You are not only graduating with a certificate, but rather you graduate with your degree on one hand, and on the other, you also graduate with your own company. And throughout your life on campus, you are working on your class activities on one hand, and you are improving your company on the other. And you will discover that even your final year project is just one component of your startup. It is because of this, their mindset before their graduation is not about to graduate and get employed, but rather to graduate and employ others. So their step number 1 is the compliance with what they call NISP, that is National Incubation and Startup Policy. Strategy number 2 they deployed is funding, seed funding and grants. Government deploys resources in order to support with seed funding. Any idea you come up with, you will discover that there are many opportunities in government that you can apply and get at least certain amount of money that can help you to build your startup. And in this stage, I want to emphasize more on our mindset. While in office, we used to provide funding for many startups, but unfortunately, when you provide funding for them, they will spend the money and move to another government institution looking for another funding. Usually, some they come up with the startup, not to develop it, but to make use of it and continue seeking for funding from one institution to another. We selected some startups in Nigeria. We took some to UAE, GITEX, some to live in Riyadh. Some of the startups I led, 2 of them in Riyadh, they were supported by $100,000 by the Saudi government, each one. Approximately 150 million naira today. When they return, at least some of them are doing well even today. But when there is another funding, you will see them in another institution. They will go, and next month you will see them somewhere. So unfortunately, instead of using the funding to develop our companies, our startups, most of our citizens are more interested in using the startup to be moving from one place to another seeking for funding. When they get the funding, if it is in some of our states, they will get married with the money. So funding is key. And I will speak more on funding under Nigeria Startup Act, inshallah. Then point number 3, flexibility. If you look at their model in IIT, there is a very high level of flexibility. And flexibility in academia is very important, particularly today with the explosion of artificial intelligence, among others that we are witnessing. There is no way that our system will continue to be static. Flexibility is key. Part of their flexibility, number one, a student who partakes in entrepreneurship, this entrepreneurship he is doing is going to be counted as his credit unit in his courses in this university. For you to become a serial entrepreneur as a student, that is part and parcel of your assessment in your classes. Your lecturers are going to assess even what you are doing outside the campus after working hours as part and parcel of your academic activities. Because you are not only defined by your time on campus, you are defined by your life in general. That is why even our degrees are in character and learning. And we usually mention character before learning. Number two, as part of that flexibility, faculty members are encouraged also to partake in ventures. They are being motivated to establish their companies, particularly in their area of research. Their universities support them, government supports them, and also government helps them in linking them with other international organizations to support them. So you will discover that some of the unicorns in India were produced by university lecturers. And look at it, unicorn has a market value of a minimum of 1 billion USD. Let's assume in each faculty we have one unicorn in our university. That will completely change the economy. Under one unicorn, you could employ 10,000 people. Number three, they introduced what they call gap year for students. It's somehow similar to our industrial training, but completely different in some ways. Gap year, it allows students during their time to take a year off, go to an industry, get more experience and hands-on from that industry before they come back and proceed with their studies. And you can take that 1 year off either after first year or second year or third year or fourth year or any time as the case may be. Because in real sense, when there is a gap between industry and academia, you will discover that absolutely we will continue to have problem of skills development. And this is what is even affecting us today in northern Nigeria. Arguably, there were more industries in the north in 1980s than today. In Funtua, in Gusau, in Sharata here in Kano, in Kaduna. But today, unfortunately, we have been neglected and relegated to the extent that our industries are in pure water, bread, and rice mill. Why? Because there is a huge gap today between our academia and industry. And we must accept the fact that we must bridge that gap. And our leaders also, our political leaders in our states and in the country, should focus more on this. You cannot address the challenge of employment, employability, and security without bridging the gap. In 2022, if you look at our national aggregate demand in Nigeria, you will discover that, and up to today, the figures are almost the same. You will discover that all the 36 states of Nigeria plus FCT, they control less than 9% of our economy. All the 36 states combined with FCT, their total budget was less than 9% of our national aggregate demand. More than 91% is being controlled by the private sector. So our economy in Nigeria is a private sector economy. There is no magic government can do and forget 91% or more than 91% and focus on less than 9% and turn things around. It's practically not possible. So as a result of this, we must prioritize the revival of our industries in Nigeria and particularly in the north, where people are going to be employed. And we must ensure that we have a time frame that we will make sure that we reduce importation by at least 80%. It is all about technology transfer and skill transfer. That is all what we need to do. Let us have an agreement with countries like Turkey, Egypt, and many more. Let them come and establish factories in our country. Let us have an agreement. Within this period of time, you are going to leave this for our children to manage on our behalf. But there is no way the economy can continue the way it is today. So Indian Institute of Technology, they prioritized this issue of flexibility. And another important point in academia in Indian Institute of Technology, you will discover that in their curriculum, or in their curricula in general, you will realize that there is another flexibility in it, to the extent that certain percentage is being provided to a lecturer, but the remaining percentage is allowed for him to come up with his initiative and fill up the gap. Like, for example, 70% of the course you are going to teach is static for this year, but 30% you have that flexibility to introduce what you think is relevant to your students. Because if we say that 100% of our curriculum is just garbage in, garbage out, that is reducing our critical thinking. But you should allow academics to partake in critical thinking where they have some level of flexibility so that they can introduce what they think is relevant to their students. And I want to use the opportunity to commend our elder brother, Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid, as the ES of the National Universities Commission. He sent me a copy of the proposed curriculum of ICT. I reviewed and I made some suggestions, including making that aspect to be flexible. And when it was approved by NUC, I discovered that he accommodated that recommendation of introducing some level of flexibility. And this is very important indeed. Another important point is the fact that in Indian Institute of Technology model, usually most senior academics teach junior students. The most senior professors in the faculty are requested to take care of 100 level and 200 level students. Why? That is the most important time for them to be educated about even CGPA. Two, at that level, they need people that are older, that have more experience in order to guide them about what life is all about. But if you bring somebody as an assistant lecturer who graduated only 2 years ago to teach students at that level, you will discover that there is a form of rivalry. Because the gap is not that wide, and he doesn't have enough experience to guide 100 level students about even what the future looks like, because he is yet to even understand it effectively. So usually when you go higher, 300 level students, you will start to encounter lecturer 1, lecturer 2. But at the lower level, you will discover your professors are at the age of 60, 70, some even 80, they retired and they were brought back on contract agreement. So when they teach you, they look at you as their last born or as their grandson. So you will discover that easily the relationship is going to be cordial. This is another flexibility. But today in our system, usually most senior academics are running away from workload. They are more interested in courses that have 10, 15, 20 students. And usually you will discover that at the higher level. Junior level, no. This is a challenge. There is no harm in attaching graduate assistants, assistant lecturers to support the most senior staff academics in teaching level 1 and 2. There are areas where they can help them. As an academic, as a professor, you can be supported with 5 junior academics. In teaching that course, there is no problem, but at least you control the activities and you supervise even the junior academics to learn from your experience and knowledge. And the last point is mentorship. They prioritized mentorship in Indian Institute of Technology. Teaching is not enough without mentorship. Mentors allow you to climb their shoulder and see what you cannot see while staying on the ground. They help you. So this is what mentorship is all about. Mentors guide you to minimize your mistakes in life. What they do, students are being supported to be linked up with successful unicorns. They try to keep the record and the database of all the unicorns from IIT. When you come up as a student, you are requested to register your company. And when you do that, your startup, you will be linked up with a successful unicorn that will continue to guide you. While in school, you learn from your teachers. After working hours, you get connected to a unicorn where they will continue to guide you in order to be successful. So in summary, these are the 4 main steps. Number 1, national incubation and startup policy compliance. Number 2, seed funding and grants. Number 3, flexibility. And number 4, mentorship. And through this mentorship is another direction of a government industry, while funding is another, seed funding, government, academia. Then mentorship, academia, industry. You see the relationship. National incubation and startup policy, government, academia, and industry. So you will discover that these 4 stages will help you to implement the triple helix model successfully. And it is similar to even Massachusetts Institute of Technology in America. It is a very similar model because at the time that many countries were discussing about small and medium enterprises, MIT was proactive, discussing about innovation and entrepreneurship. To the extent that there was a research conducted in 2016, 10 years ago, entitled The MIT Nation. In that research, they have clearly explained that the GDP, the gross domestic product, of the serial entrepreneurs that graduated from MIT, their collective GDP was around 2.9 trillion USD. 2.9 trillion USD. At that time, or even today, you will discover that it is a university, but the GDP of its serial entrepreneurs more than our GDP in Nigeria 5 times. And this is only one university. Why? Because the focus is not just about producing potential employees, but rather potential employers. And usually they have been very successful. With all sense of humility, I was appointed as the champion of MIT, the same university, for 2 years to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. And that position actually equipped me to produce the Nigeria Startup Act 2022. Because of time constraint, the next stage is NSA, Nigerian Startup Act 2022. It is a law that was assented by our late President Muhammad Buhari, may Allah have mercy on him. On the 19th of October 2022, I led a team that developed the Nigeria Startup Act 2022. All these ideas, we tried to accommodate them in that NSA 2022. The law is available online. I encourage our academics and students that are yet to get a copy to download and read. There are many provisions for seed funding, for startup labeling, among many other things, including intellectual property, to the extent that in that law that was approved, there was a provision of a minimum of 10 billion naira annually to support our startup in Nigeria. But unfortunately, many of us fail to go through, read and understand and benefit from it. So Nigeria Startup Act, if implemented, most probably it could be the most important legislation in the country for the last 20 years. There is a very high probability, but the implementation is the issue as earlier mentioned. Because of the time constraint and recommendations, number one recommendation, there is need for the establishment of a world-class incubation centers in our institutions. Not just the usual IT hub that is being built without any plan. Let us make sure that we have a strategy on how to make use of our incubation centers to address our challenges, not just for the sake of modernizing our campuses with building or with facilities. They are only there for homework or for laboratory assignment. We must challenge our students to go into the incubation centers and come up with solutions to our problems. Number two, making our system more flexible is also critical. Number three, introducing the concept of urging or recommending or sometimes mandating our students to have their own startup, particularly those in engineering and technology, is crucial. Because if you look at our system in Nigeria, to continue to produce potential employees will not be a solution. Look at our students today. Look at our graduates. Wherever you go, you will discover the only issue, please, can you help me? If you are a government official, any trip you partake in and come back to any state, you will come back with 10, 20 CVs. Whoever comes to you is about employment. The opportunities are limited. But most of our graduates today, only the language they understand is to get employed by government. Even private sector, our children, our students, our graduates in the north, most of them are not interested. They will say there is no job security. Who tells you there is no job security? Who tells you this? It doesn't make sense. The job security is not in the job, but in you. If you partake in self-improvement, self-development, among many others, there is no way you will be left without being employed if employment is your target. And also, number four, we need to mentor our students to the extent that they will partake in reskilling, upskilling, and cross-skilling. These three things are very important. You should try to be